evil. Kill all our enemies. That's what keeps making evil. You know why? Because that's the spirit of Molech. Let's go sacrifice all of our children to kill all our enemies so we can live peaceable. And then let's go protest abortion. Why are they any different? You sacrifice your children to preserve your own life. You sacrifice your children to preserve your own life. You say, whoa, wait a minute. You son of a, yeah. I'm not the son of a. You've just met the Jesus of the Bible. And nobody can deny it. And if you want to pretend that the Gospels and what Jesus called us to and the Sermon on the Mount is just an idealist thing, it's not really meant for us. Believe it. Believe that. Go ahead. But I don't believe it was just an idealism thing. I believe the Sermon on the Mount was a practical guide to defeat evil in the world. I still do believe that. You believe that, right? It was practical. It did really defeat. See, we'll never know what would have happened had we turned the other cheek and forgiven the ones that sent the planes in 9/11. I'm not saying that I would do any better if it was one of my relatives. I'm not saying that I wouldn't murder somebody if they came into my house. But I am saying that that would be me. I'm not saying that I would murder them and say, thus saith the Lord, I'm going to murder you. It's different. Don't make Jesus the murder in your heart. Don't make Jesus behind the murder in your heart. There's no way that you can watch that video and not think about that. That's all cool and everything. Oh yeah, hallelujah. He was raised from the dead. Isn't it interesting that didn't you notice that? Isn't it interesting that he wasn't fully healed until he forgave? And we won't be fully healed until we forgive. America will never be fully healed from 9/11 until we forgive. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is the law. And we will be in that prison all the days of our lives. And if you haven't seen it already, we will pay every last penny to get out of it. Why? Because we see truth as our advocate. We see God as on our side. We see him only as our advocate. But until we can see truth as our adversary, justice can't happen in the earth. I'll give you just a real practical example. My wife has this rule, and her rule is no shoes in the house. All right? I have tried. So basically, this is what's frustrating to me, okay? Number one, often she sends me out in the middle of the snow to grab stuff out of the car, but she doesn't fully tell me everything that she needs out of the car. So I put on my boots, I tie them up, I go out, I grab the stuff out of the car, I come back into the house, I throw the stuff on the thing, I just get all the boots off, everything off, and then she says to me, oh, I forgot, there's something else in the car. So then I have to put my boots back on and I have to go back out. Now to me as a man, I know half of you probably won't agree with me, but to me as a man, I really feel like it's sensible that there are times that I shouldn't have to take my shoes off in the house. There are times that I shouldn't, and I really felt this strongly in my heart. I really felt like there are times like that I shouldn't have to take my shoes off in the house. And then, not to add, my wife loves animals, and we cannot have small dogs. We have to have giant dogs, huge dogs with massive paws. and we have wood floors. And so the dogs come in, and they can just go everywhere. Sometimes in the middle of the night, the dog is pushing me out of the bed. That dog can bring all of his stuff in the house, can track all over the house, and I have to take my shoes off. I remember this was sensible. I really felt like this was the truth. I looked at Rachel and I said, in front of the kids, I said, why should I have to take my shoes off? The dog doesn't have to take his shoes off in the house. You see what happens to us. And then my wife says, oh yeah, honey, sure. Hudson doesn't have to take his shoes off in the house. Good thinking. Good point. Okay, well, so anyways, so what I had this strategy. And what happened was I just stopped taking my shoes off in the house. And I really would fight and fight and fight, and I had all my arguments. And then finally, Rachel just stopped asking. And I thought I won the argument. I really did. I was like, man, that's hot. She doesn't even ask me anymore to take my shoes off. And so I never took them off for a whole year. I just walk. Sometimes I take them off, if they're really dirty, but I just walk into my studio and I walk out, and I was just liberated. This is amazing. I won. I really thought I won. She finally understood me because she never asked me anymore. So I'm about ready to go to Holland, and my daughter is in the back seat, and she's kind of quiet, and she's looking out the window. And I said, Emma, I sure am going to, and we were going to meet Samuel and Rachel. This is before we had Lucy. And I said to her, Emma, I sure am going to miss you while I'm gone to Holland. And she said, yeah, I'm going to miss you too, Daddy. And then she said, and I'm looking at her through the rearview mirror, and I see her little eyes. But I'm not going to miss you as much as I'm going to miss Mommy. I said, Emma, that's not very nice. You shouldn't tell me that. So I told her, and she said, well, because Daddy, and she's real nervous, because Daddy, sometimes you're mean to Mommy. I said, hold on a second. I said, Emma, because we have this rule. If I'm mean to Mommy or she's mean to me, we have to ask forgiveness in front of the kids. And if they're mean to each other, they have to ask forgiveness in front of us. So I said, wait a second. I've asked forgiveness from Mommy anytime I've been mean to her in front of you. And I said, are you holding something in your heart? Are you not forgiving me, Emma? And this is what she said. Well, you never asked forgiveness for not taking your shoes off in the house. And that's Mommy's rule. And all of a sudden I realized that my daughter, I had broken trust with my daughter. I thought I had won. But I stopped making space for truth. And it stopped asking. And my daughter was watching. And she started distancing herself from me. It wasn't that she didn't love me. It wasn't that she wasn't going to miss me. But there was definitely something there broken. So I repented. And I didn't just blow off the spirit of truth and say, oh, you're just a kid, you don't understand all the ins and outs. I said, okay,